An entitled, stupid security guard tries to blame me for shoplifting, all because I look like the person that he's looking for. But despite my explanations, he simply will not take no for an answer, and he refuses to let me leave the store. Here's what happened. I'll start by saying that I have a baby face and have always been mistaken for someone who's very young, even after graduating high school. I also have random people approach me asking if I remember them from such and such because I've always been mistaken for someone that they knew from somewhere else. It's really spooky. Also, during this incident that I'm about to describe, most people might say that this guy just made a mistake, but the way he spoke to me, even after I told him that he had made a mistake, he simply refused to believe me and even started making claims of theft when the actual shoplifter was also in the store actually taking things. Here's what happened. I had stopped at Walmart to buy myself a quick lunch for work. As a side note, I'm still wearing my teal-colored themed uniform shirt from my job that reads House Depot Cashier Appreciation Month. I'm also wearing black slacks and shoes, along with a purple cap that also has the same logo and store name written on it, while wearing my black one-shoulder work bag that I use to carry my work-related things. I had just paid for everything and was heading towards the exit when a security guard stops me and asks to check my things, which I let him do and even held out my receipt to prove that I had paid for everything. The security guard then jumps all over me and says, "Have you paid for everything?" And at this point, I'm still holding out my receipt, and I say, yes, here it is right here. You can look over it all if you like. The security guard then says something absolutely baffling. He says, "And how do I know it's not fake ones from another store?" So I responded by saying, "Because I just finished paying for it, and if you ask that cashier over there who literally just rang me up, she can tell you that I just paid for everything." And at this point, I got really weirded out by what he was asking. He then says, "I'm only asking because I've gotten reports that there have been a lot of theft around here lately, and the report matches your description." And after he said that, I was shocked. I said, "I've shopped here sometimes by myself, but most times I come here with my family, and I've never stolen anything from here, or from any store for that matter. Besides, today was the only time I had available to stop by and get my lunch." The security guard then had the audacity to claim that I was apparently in the store yesterday night, but I defended myself, and I said, "I wasn't here last night, I was at home all day." And that's when this security guard ups the ante and starts to act in such a way that absolutely blew my mind. He then says, "If you keep bad-mouthing me, I'll have you banned from this store. Now unload your bag and give back all the things you just took off the shelves right now." I explained to him that I'm telling the truth, and that if he wants to go through my bag and check everything, I'm not going to stop him. But again, I haven't stolen anything from the store. And as I was trying to explain that I had just gotten off of work, he interrupted me and said, "I've had enough of your garbage. I've been here all day, and I've seen you repeatedly come in and out of the store with your bag loaded with things that you didn't pay for. I'm calling the cops to have you arrested, and I'm getting management to have you banned permanently." And at this point, I didn't know what to do. I tried to reason with him, but he just straight up ignores me and radios over to management, as well as getting another security guard involved, just so they can detain me. Another security guard and the management finally make it over to us, and they ask what's happening. This stupid security guard says, "I've caught the shoplifter you told me about." And at this point, I chimed in again and I said, "I'm not shoplifting. I'm just buying lunch for work. I've got the receipt to prove it. I haven't stolen anything." The manager asks to see the receipt, and then the security guard actually claims that I'm using a fake receipt and refuses to believe that I wasn't lying, all while the second security guard was double checking and matching everything in my bag with the receipt. The manager finally looks up and says, "Everything in her bag matches up with the receipt. She's not lying or shoplifting. Please stop restricting her from leaving." But the security guard wasn't letting it go, because he said he could have sworn he saw me walking in and out of the store all day, even for the past few days. So I had to explain again. I already told you, the past few days I've either been at home or in college, and today was literally the only day I had available to go shopping just to get lunch. And I've clearly not been walking in and out if I'm still wearing my work uniform. The security guard then falls silent for a second, and then he said, "She's clearly lying now. She just said she was here all day, and now she's claiming she was at work." Thankfully, the second security guard had a set of brains on them, because they said, "No, that's what you said. She clearly said that she wasn't available to come here the past few days, up until right now." The manager then turns on this first security guard and says, "If you've seen who's shoplifting all day, why didn't you bother to stop them, or report them, or just decide to step in?" And just when when this security guard was just about to say something, the manager stops him due to a call over the radio about needing security and management near the back of the store. The manager has this stupid security guard go with him just to see what the disturbance is, and the second security guard stays with me to hear my side of the story. After they walked away, I tell my side of the story, and as I finished, I get a text message from my dad asking why I'm not home yet, to which I speak to my dad, and he tells me he's coming to pick me up. After this, the first stupid security guard and the manager are dragging a struggling, maybe high school age girl with a backpack full of electronics and more, dressed in loose clothes and tan pants with a pink cap, as well as a few cop cars pulling up behind us. They caught the girl who was actually shoplifting. After the manager and security guard finished speaking to the police and the girl was taken away, the other security guard, the one that actually has a brain, confirms my story, and the first stupid security guard tries to walk away as quickly as he could, but the manager stops him and demands that he apologizes to me right now, to which he did, and the manager told me I was allowed to leave and not be banned from the store. As I stepped outside of the store, my dad pulls up, and we eventually go home. A few days later, I was there shopping again with my parents, and the first security guard that was giving me so many problems was no longer there, and I'm honestly not surprised if he was fired, especially since he was making false claims, as well as threatening me for a crime that I didn't commit. I am amazed at how stupid that first security guard really is. Not only do they watch this one person try and steal all this stuff, but they then grab the wrong person and try and pin it all on them. I mean, how obnoxious can you get? Talk about being terrible at your job. So I'm really glad that this all worked out, because there's nothing worse than being accused of something criminal, especially when you had nothing to do with it. I don't feel like my needs are being met, and at this point I don't know what to do. So I've been dating my girlfriend for about 4 months, and we are currently 90 miles away. She travels to see me because she can work from home, and I don't get the time off to travel to see her. Things were good at the start, but as it got more serious, she started coming to visit for 2 weeks at a time. I felt I was losing myself, as I couldn't do the things that I enjoyed doing when she wasn't here, like spending time reading alone or seeing some friends. She says I can do these things, but I do feel guilty that she came all this way just to see me, so I try not to always do these things when she's here. We have had a lot of conversations already about our relationship, and she says that I keep pointing out the negatives about her, despite her doing positive things like cleaning the house and stuff like that. I do appreciate these things, and I have told her that a lot, but what gets me is that she works from home, so she's always going to be at home when I finish work. 9 out of 10 times, she's still in her pajamas. She won't plan things for dinner. She won't plan anything for us to do when I get finished with work. She doesn't take much assertiveness to do or plan much of anything, and I feel like it's all being left to me, and it drains me mentally sometimes, as I feel like it's a lot of pressure. We have tried to talk about this before, and we do try continually to work on it. I feel like I have to spend every minute with her when she's here, but if I plan to do stuff with friends, she will moan that we don't do anything, but yet never makes plans with us in the first place. What I feel isn't healthy for her is that she has no real close friends or family where she currently stays, so she works from home when she's not with me all day alone, and then spends most of the day in the house alone. When she visits me again, it's the same thing, except I'll be here when I get home, and I just don't think it's healthy. But how do I explain that to her without hurting her feelings? She may be completely happy doing this, but I feel this puts a lot of pressure on me. When she's here, I never get that feeling of space or time apart, despite her being away for 2 weeks and then back in another 2 weeks. At times, I feel smothered. Today, for example, it was my day off, and I planned to do some things on my own, but she just laid about at work and then started joining in, doing things that I was working on, but I just wanted some time alone to do it. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy her participating or even taking part in my interest, but sometimes I just need some alone time. I just feel we're at a point now where we've had so many conversations that nothing much is improving, and she constantly is getting upset and says I'm being negative when I'm just trying to discuss the problem in our relationship. She says I'm negative about her and can't see the positives in her, which is just completely not true. What should I do? I really do sympathize with the original poster in this one. I know what it's like to need some alone time just to decompress from work, and I also know when I want something done from my significant other and they're just not doing it. So you know what? Maybe some communication and setting up some kind of rules of engagement between the two of you would really go a long way. Maybe explain, hey, for this break of time, I want to just be alone and do my own thing. Maybe that's after work, maybe that's a specific time of the day, something along those lines. And when it comes to planning to do stuff, you could even take turns. Say, hey, this week it's my turn to figure something out for the both of us, and then next week you've got to get something going. That might be a positive solution you can look to and use as a way to get things done. You never know, it might work out. But overall, in my opinion, I think you just need to talk more and figure out what changes need to be made, because I don't think either of you are being a jerk in this situation. It honestly just sounds like there's a little bit of miscommunication that's putting people in the wrong kind of light. I just found out that my wife had a short affair with a coworker, and I don't know what to do. So my wife and I have been married for 10 years. We've had our ups and downs, but definitely it's not been terrible. We have 4 kids, all under 8 years old. I definitely get lazy pulling my weight on housework sometimes, and it has been a problem to a point. It seems like when I do stuff like laundry or wash dishes or just general cleaning, it's not good enough, and I shut down until it's brought back up again that I don't do enough around the house. Being an awesome father, though, does get me some brownie points just to try and make up for it. Anyways, last winter, my wife became withdrawn and started what I thought was suspicious behavior. I tried to use her phone for the Roku remote on the TV for the kids, but the passcode was changed, and she wouldn't let me know what the new code was, which is whatever, it's no big deal. I just find my phone and I use it. The next day, I find out that location services are turned off on Find a Friends, and it all seems super suspicious. So I flat out ask her what's going on. She says if I want to be that controlling of her, I can see anything on her phone. And at that point, she basically was offering me her phone to take a look. But I told her that I trust her and that I didn't want to look at it. She denies anything is happening, and the location thing was an accident. I only use the location to see when she's on her way home from work so I can try and get dinner going. But it's still weird and I'm still super suspicious. Eventually, she picks up a second job, which was not needed, but the extra money is nice. I work full-time too, so it's not necessary, to be completely honest. Parenting was pretty split 50-50 before, but it quickly became 90-10 on my end. I love my kids more than anything, but it just sucks that it seems it's becoming more and more just me doing the parenting, since she is working both jobs at a full-time status. Spring break comes along, and we take a nice family vacation, and things start getting back to normal. She quit her part-time job, got promoted at her main job, and we decided to take a long weekend with just the two of us, just so we could enjoy our anniversary in the fall. I was able to get my family to watch the kids, and we honestly had a great time. We got a little tipsy one night, and she asked me to go order some food, and after that, she tosses me her phone to take care of it. She tells me the code to her phone, but I ended up messing it up and getting locked out, so I handed it back to her. So even if I wanted to, I didn't get a chance to look at her phone. We get back home from our trip, and our new phone upgrades that we ordered before we left had finally come in. I was able to migrate my old iPhone info pretty easily. She gets hers mostly done, but the SIM card won't work, so she gets frustrated and says that she will just deal with it later. The next day, I'm off work, and she goes to work, and against my better judgment, I try the new passcode on her phone that she left behind, and much to my surprise, it works, and all of her apps are working, along with her text messages. The new passcode is a date from last winter right before Christmas, which also lines up for when she started acting really shady. I check her messages from one of her best friends from that time, and I see that everything from February and earlier was deleted. I then remember that she makes private Facebook posts for journaling, and she sometimes shares them with me, and some of them she only keeps for herself. I scroll back to the date and my heart sunk. What I thought was going on was actually happening. She was absolutely having an affair with a coworker. It was a 20-year-old guy that she always complained about not pulling his weight. I do some more difficult digging, and I find out it started with just text messages, along with some playful banter at work, and it progressed into some really sketchy stuff, including sending some sketchy photos to each other. And then this led to finally taking a day off work a week before Christmas. But she told me that she was working that day, but in reality, she was just spending some quality time with him. From what I can tell, it was a one-time thing. They still texted each other, and she pushed him for another time, but he wouldn't do it. She deleted the text messages to him, but had screenshots of texts, as well as Snapchats in her hidden photo folder. I'm absolutely crushed. From what I can tell, he cut things off in the middle of January. The text messages from her friends indicate her two best friends knew about this and approved of it, which honestly blows my mind. The whole rest of the year, she made private posts about missing him and how bad she wanted to be with him, but she started to say that less and less as time went on. Flash forward back to last weekend, and he moved away to another state for college, and she is acting super depressed. She wrote a private post while we were on vacation indication that she knows her marriage is important to her and wants to be a better wife and a better mom. She has no idea that I know anything. And when I ask her why she's seemingly so sad today, she says that she's just overwhelmed at work and that she'll eventually be fine. But in reality, I know it's because he left. I don't know what to do about any of this. My trust in her is completely gone, but I still love her. I need to know how I should approach this. Do I just keep it to myself, knowing that it was a one-time mistake on her part and that she wants to work on our relationship? Do I confront her with the evidence? I'm sure I probably crossed some huge boundaries by snooping, but never in a million years have I or would I ever cheat on my wife, and I certainly was not expecting to find what I found on her phone. What should I do? What a tragic situation to be stuck in. Here you have your wife, who by the way is 37 years old, who blatantly had an affair with a 20-year-old coworker. That is absolutely disturbing and so bad. It's like she completely ignored you as well as your 4 young children. I mean, what on earth was she thinking? What a terrible life decision. And it's also so tragic that all of your worries really were confirmed. I mean, you could tell that something was off, but you couldn't quite pinpoint it until you went through her phone and found exactly what you were worried about. And to that, all I can say is I'm so sorry. So hopefully things can work out for you and your family, especially your kids in this situation, regardless of what you choose to do, because they do not deserve to deal with this. And it's truly tragic that their mom decided to betray their trust. Today, I messed up by expecting my family to pay for my birthday dinner. Yesterday, I turned 18 years old. For the past 6 years, like clockwork, every day on my birthday, we'd go to the same place for dinner, and I'd always get the same thing. For those who are a bit confused, I have extreme OCD, as well as high-functioning autism, which means I'm very well regulated, and I like things to stay the same way that they always have been. Every year on my birthday, we go to Applebee's. The first thing I would get is a steak and shrimp parmesan with a side of loaded mashed potatoes, as well as cheesy steamed broccoli, and on the side, I would have some mozzarella sticks. In total, it would be about $30. A bit expensive, I know. I couldn't really tell, but something was off until a bit later, because when me, my mom, and my stepfather, including my older brother, sat down, they didn't really say anything. I was confused at first, and I started tapping my fingers nervously like I always do. My mother then looks at me and says, "Well, aren't you gonna call the waiter over?" And this gave me extreme anxiety. I have extreme issues when talking to people, and I tend to stutter, and I get very, very scared, if that's the right word. But I countered and asked if she could just do it, and so she did it, but in a huff. My dad and brother are staring nonchalantly, and as she calls the waiter over, the alarm bells are ringing in my head. This is never how it went before. As the waiter gets to the table, he asks everyone what they want, and everybody orders. As he gets to me, my mother stops him and says, "This is gonna be on a separate bill." And this is when my heart began beating very fast. I don't have a job, and all the money I get is from our neighbors raking leaves. I just kind of freeze. I don't really say anything, and I get a really bad stomachache from the anxiety. And this is where I am conflicted on whether I'm the jerk or not. My mother would explain at the table that now that I'm 18, I should be able to pay for my own things. I was already feeling nauseous from the situation, so I just said I don't have the money. My mom then makes a big scene out of it and sends the waiter away. And honestly, this soured the dinner party. However, my mom also paid for my 23-year-old brother. Because of this situation, my family was calling me an entitled jerk the entire ride home. When I got home, I just ran to my room and cried. Now they've been ignoring me the whole day. I may be bad at social cues, but my family has never acted like this before, and I mean never. They've been treating me horrible the whole day. I feel so angry and upset at my family. If I would have been warned, I would have saved my raking money and used it for the night. My family gets a little tight on money, and I guess I really should have asked before I assumed that they were going to pay for it. But I missed out on my birthday dinner because I wasn't mature enough to bring my own money. I guess I'm just going to have to rake leaves for a couple of weeks just to order it and make up for it with some takeout. What a terrible situation. Like, this original poster's family is super toxic. What kind of healthy parents would do this? Like, they just spring it on their son and say, "Okay, congratulations. You're paying for it with the job that you don't have, the money you currently don't have." Like, that's just ridiculous. Maybe some kind of talk that doesn't humiliate them in public would be a lot better than whatever they decided to do at this dinner table. I mean, that's just absolutely unfair. And to top it all off, this was literally your birthday. This was supposed to be a birthday dinner that you've had since you were a kid. I think anybody could confidently assume that everyone was there under the assumption that this was your birthday dinner, just like you've done every year for like the past however many years. Like, this is ridiculous, and your parents really should be ashamed of themselves. So in my opinion, you didn't mess up at all. If anything, it just shows how bad your parents really are, because this is absolutely obnoxious, and you did not have to deal with that for a second. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, use the playlist at the top of the description. And the next time you live stream, use the cream of the crop music. Search Cream of the Stream on Spotify or whatever platform you use for copyright-free music to use for your next stream.